Hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Batman and Superman World's Finest number 22. Let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Mark Waid with art by Dan Mora, colors by Tamara Van Vellen, letters by Steve Wands. So we continue this story. We are still in the world of Kingdom Come. This is chapter 3 of that story. In this episode, in this issue, trapped in the world of Kingdom Come, as our heroes are trapped in the universe of Kingdom Come, the world's finest heroes encounter skewed versions of their friends, a team calling itself Justice Battalion. Can Batman and Superman prevent Boy Thunder from fulfilling his destiny and becoming the bloodthirsty Magog? So if you have read Kingdom Come, you kind of know where the story's gonna end up, right? You know where we're heading. But I really like seeing these other versions of the Justice League. You also get to see some new heroes, new characters that I don't know that we had ever seen before, even in the original material. So that's really cool. And we continue to follow David as he works with this world's version of I believe the entity's named Gog, that is just an all-powerful being that is in this version of this world, who ultimately will appear to be the reason that David Boy Thunder becomes Magog. Really interesting stuff. We get to see some surprises, some reveals. As I mentioned, many of the superheroes that you already expect to see. So let's go take a look at some of the preview art so I can talk about Dan Mora's amazing designs. So just from this perspective, this point of view that we're seeing of Gog and David kind of hanging out there. Now, of course, something's going on. Batman and Superman know that there's something off. I also really like seeing the versions of Kingdom Come of Batman and Superman that when they are a little bit younger, before everything that we know happens in the story has happened. And as you can see here, Dan Mora draws some amazing stuff of our heroes fighting their versions of their friends that they would know from this world. And they really throw everything at both of them, including, of course, magical powers, because that's really the one way to defeat Superman, right? We see Zatanna, we see Etrigan, we see a Blue Beetle. So, really cool to see all these characters. As I mentioned, you'll get to see a lot more surprises as well. Mark Waid, Dan Mora continue to expand on this world, this mythology, to build on it. And I feel like at the end, we're gonna be left with this world having a few repercussions in the Kingdom Come story that we know, or maybe some of the things from Kingdom Come that was also written by Mark Waid will be revealed to have happened because of the events of this. So it's kind of like a retcon to expand the universe as opposed to a retcon to change something else. That's what I'm thinking, but we'll see what happens in the next few chapters. Hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for Batman Santa Claus Silent Night number 3. This is a new book from DC Comics. Let's go take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Jeff Parker with art by Michelle Bandini and Trevor Hairsine, colors by Alex Sinclair, letters by Pat Brousseau. So we continue the story of how do we stop Krampus from ruining Christmas in the DC universe, and what is Santa Claus going to do to help our heroes. There's a lot of creatures, there's a lot of monsters out in the world terrorizing everyone and trying to ruin Christmas. So in this issue, it is Christmas Evil. The nefarious Krampus unleashes a flock of killer harpies on London, and it's time to call in the big guns. Half of the Justice League meets a most unusual elf who takes them to Norway to help Santa do battle, but it appears a diabolical trap is being set. Um, Jeff Parker's been doing such a fun job of mixing in DC mythology with Santa Claus mythology, and just kind of incorporating all types of really real world myths to really weave into the story. Because who would want to help Krampus other than some of these creatures that are kind of like harpies and these vampires and stuff like that. But of course, there's a little bit more than meets the eye, and that is all kind of starting to get revealed in this issue. I think Jeff Parker is doing a really good job with the pacing of the story, raising the stakes, bringing in a really fun cast of characters, and of course, that gives the chance to both the artists on here, Bandini and Hairsign, to do what they do best, and that is to draw some really cool stuff. Um, their styles are very different and unique, I think, but they both play really well. I think Hair Sign, if you remember from some of the deceased books with the zombies and stuff, really really well done on the harpies, as you can see here in some of these pages. I believe all the pages we're going to see are actually Hair Sign's pages, but you've got to see Michelle Bandini's work on the previous issues, so that should be no problem for you to imagine what's going on. So make sure to go check out those reviews if you want to check out some of Bandini's work. But yeah, really cool stuff. Very interesting mystery that we are about to. This is only 4 issues, so we only have one more left. I think DC did a very good job scheduling this to, of course, the last issue releases on Christmas itself, which is just very cool, very smart, and very well timed. So, really cool stuff. Maybe that's why we have multiple artists to make sure that the book got done in time to release during Christmas. But yeah, this is still very exciting stuff. I'm really enjoying it. Of course, a lot of really cool variants at the end of the video. Stay tuned for those. So, hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for Nightwing 109. This is a new book from DC Comics. But let's go take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Tom Taylor with art by Stephen Byrne, Adrian Lucas on colors, and Wes Abbott on letters. Now, in this issue, Nightwing's pirate adventure ends here, and an all-new Beast World backup story begins. So, I think I feel like this issue was delayed because the backup story for this really feels like it should have happened before the current issue of Beast World. So I'm wondering if just some of this Nightwing stuff was a little bit more delayed, or if the Beast World stuff got moved forward. But either way, here's the finale for this story. I think the story's been fun overall, but I was just so what detracted me a little bit from enjoying this as much as I probably would have was the fact that I kind of wanted this book to get to Beast World because Tom Taylor is also writing that, so obviously the Nightwing book is got to be a big part of it, and I want to know how that plays out. So that was the only thing I will say. So in this issue, the dramatic conclusion to Nightwing's pirate quest, Nightwing learns the truth behind the secret pirate society, and his relationship to Bay Bennett changes forever. So yeah, I think this is going to be a really fun story to go back and read all together. But just like I said, the event, I feel like it derailed it a little bit from the momentum that it had going on this Nightwing book. So yeah, I think Nightwing's been overall pretty solid. Some of the stories have not been my favorite as far the I think some of the stuff with Heartless, and then some of this stuff with Nightwing off being a pirate. I think maybe this was an issue too long because I kind of just wanted to get that wrapped up and moved along. So, but that's just personally how I feel about it. Still, the art is amazing. Stephen Byrne, like, what a fantastic artist, and just really portrays the danger here. I think it's a really fun mix of, like, yeah, everybody has to look cool like a pirate, but also we're in a DC Action Comics book, so it's really interesting to see the balance that Barn finds with the art here. Of course, we also get a little flashback of Alfred teaching young Dick Grayson how to stitch some wounds, and of course, anytime we get Alfred, I think Tom Taylor writes some of the best Alfred out there. I'll say that much. Let me know what you guys think about that. But I think every time that Tom Taylor writes Alfred in one of his books, like, it just makes me appreciate the character and miss him so much more. So hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong, number 3. This is a new book from DC Comics and Legendary Comics. Let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Brian Buccellato with art by Christian Duce, Luis Guerrero on colors, letters by Richard Starkings and Jimmy Betancourt. Interesting to have 2 letters on a book. You don't often see that. So in this issue, Legendary's Monsterverse devastates the DC universe. Superman and Godzilla have gone head to head with devastating consequences in Metropolis as the Justice League scrambles to protect their homes from the monsters. Supergirl encounters Kong on Skull Island, and Wonder Woman takes on a behemoth on Themyscira. Lost in the monster mayhem, though, are Lex Luthor and his Legion of Doom. What nefarious connection do they have to everything? I think we've gotten a lot of the Justice League trying to contain these Titans, but we haven't seen much. We get little drop-ins of what's going on with the Legion of Doom, and I think that's very interesting. But it is about time that they play a bigger role, because we don't. I feel like the DC heroes are not going to be enough to stop what's happening here with the Titans. So I think that's going to be really interesting. I really like the story so far. Once again, it's just monsters being punched in the face, heroes having to team up to defend their individual cities. I think that was really cool. Where each of these Titans eventually ended up at Central City. There's one in Gotham. Then we have everything that's going on in Skull Island, and of course the fight in Metropolis with Godzilla, which has very dire consequences in this issue. So let's take a look at some of the preview art here. This is the picture of the monsters, and these Titans continues to just really impress me. Very cool character designs. A lot of these monsters have to be adapted from different mediums, and I think Christian's doing a fantastic job bringing that and incorporating it and making it look like it is really part of the DC universe. And of course, we have some really cool action sequences. We see here Flash running to Central City, and then we also have drop-ins of some of the other Justice Leaguers, including Supergirl and the Green Lantern. There's also a big part of Green Arrow that plays into this issue. As you know, he kind of stayed behind on Skull Island, but he's going to need backup very soon because, as you saw on the cover, the King of Kong is ready to take him on. So, yeah, really fun stuff so far. Really enjoying this one as well. DC is just really putting out some really fun, even if a little weird stories. So very cool stuff. Amazing variants at the end of the video. Stay tuned for those. Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for Superman number 9. This is a new book from DC Comics. Let's take a look at the creative team here. This is written by Joshua Williamson with art by Bruno Redondo, which is really cool to see Bruno step out of the Nightwing book and come to this issue. We also have colors by Adrian Lucas and letters by Ariana Mayer, and a fantastic cover, the main cover by Jamal Campbell. Some more variant covers we'll see at the end of the video as well. In this issue, the Man of Steel gets an upgrade courtesy of Lex Luthor's super armor. Superman's battle with the Chain has left him wounded in unexpected ways, but the Lex Luthor Revenge Squad is still forming. To save Metropolis, Superman has no choice but to put on a special armor built by Lex, featuring artwork from our Eisner Award-winning Nightwing artist, Bruno Redondo. So you know the art's going to be real good, if anything. But the story is also fantastic. I just really have been enjoying what Joshua Williamson has been doing for this book. Now, I will say, for some reason, this week we were a little light on preview art for some of these. Normally, we get about 5 pages or so, but I think there's so much stuff packed into this one issue, like so many revelations and so many things happening, that I can see why DC would want to hold back on doing some of that. Joshua Williamson definitely captures the heart of the Superman team and the people around him. And of course, Superman's wounded. The people around him are hurt emotionally, and they're tired physically and emotionally, but they still have to rally back, right, to bring back Superman. Uh, Putting him in armor just makes sense. I think, interestingly enough, both the Action Comics book and the Superman book have been dealing with Superman not being at 100% in his powers, which is very interesting. That both books would just kind of focus on that. I think it's about time that, especially after Superman became so strong after coming back from War World and Battle World or whatever he was, uh, he came back with like some really cool new abilities. So, yeah, really interesting stuff. Really like what Joshua Williamson's doing here with the Revenge Squad. They feel, it feels like we're finally paying off some of the things that were set up in earlier arcs. So it's really, really fun stuff. So let's take a look at some of the preview art. As I mentioned, we don't have a lot of pages, but I do love the transition here by Redondo. Like, Lois is reading him fan mail, right? Because I think they say when people are healing and emotionally, seeing that connection, I think can really be helpful for their recovery. Of course, Superman is a little bit different, the way he heals, the way he recovers. But of course, Lois knows that he needs an emotional boost as well, and I think she also needs an emotional boost and emotional support now that everything's going on. So I love seeing that. I love this big page in the middle of Superman just in this healing bed, with the rays of the sun, and then Lois just kind of having a few flashbacks to some of their more beautiful moments. So when they met, when they got married, when they had John, just like beautiful, beautiful highlights. Just really fun storytelling here. So I'm really enjoying this book. I don't know what else to tell you other than you have to pick up Superman. I've mentioned this before in other videos, but I don't think I've read this much Superman in a long time, and I'm super here for it. I'm very on board. I know the things are going to change a little bit in 2024 with both the Action comic books, and then I don't know exactly where the direction of Superman's going to be. But either way, I am very excited to move forward with this and this team of creators. Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Wonder Woman #4. This is a new book from DC Comics. Before I get into the creative team for the main story, let me talk a little bit about the world's finest backup story, written by Tom King with art by Belen Ortega, colors by Alejandro Sanchez, letters by Clayton Cowles. In this story, we have Trinity spending the night at the Fortress of Solitude with her with their babysitter, the Super Sons. Um, they pulled in Tom King pulled in some of my favorite mythology about the Fortress of Solitude and just brought it into this book, to choose for Lissy to have to deal with it. And it's amazing. It's really cool stuff. All that with, of course, Belen Ortega, who's one of my favorite artists. And it's been such a really cool thing to see her kind of go from all these books that I really love, and now seeing her work in Wonder Woman is amazing. She really captures, I think, how innocent young heroes can be, specifically when John and Damian have to be the babysitters. I think that's a really fun concept. So Tom King and Ortega just doing a really fun job with that. So now let's move on to the main story. That one is also written by Tom King with art by Daniel St. Pierre, Tommy Moret on colors, letters by Clayton Cowles. The first thing I'll say about this is I am glad DC it appears, has given Daniel St. Pierre enough runway to do all the art himself. We are 4 issues in, and it is at this point in a monthly comic book where you sometimes start seeing fill-in artists or a few pages by additional creators, stuff like that. Obviously, the backup story doesn't count. That's a completely different thing. That's really just to make the book larger, which gives you more story, and also DC can charge more for the book. But yeah, it's really cool. I mean, kudos to Sampere and the team, like just working on consistently in all these issues. So in this issue, will Diana lose hope in a world turned against her? With the world losing trust in the Amazons, Wonder Woman takes a moment to grant the wish of a dying boy and gives him the perfect day. Meanwhile, the Sovereign constricts his grip on the government. Will Wonder Woman be able to hold out hope as the world around her turns even darker? Yeah, this is a very emotional issue. I think Wonder Woman taking the time out of everything that's going on in the world to go see this boy whose last wish may be to meet Wonder Woman, spend the day with her, just doing like really cool things in Themyscira. So there's a lot happening, right? There's a lot of implications about like how does she even take the time to do this because the boy is on American soil, and obviously Amazons are persona non grata at this time. Um, Tom King very smartly does this with the gives us a lot of context, and I'll pull up the preview art now because the team does a really good job here, giving us that context via these news announcements. Right, these news announcements are not a new thing; like we've seen them from the Dark Knight Returns. I believe Watchmen also had a lot of these, especially with the 9 panel grid. It's a very efficient way to give you a lot of exposition and also just kind of build out the world in a single page. You get so much, right? There's so much information happening here, but also just from the conversation that Wonder Woman has with the parents in the next page, you can feel the tension, even if you didn't have this opening page. So very cool stuff. And of course, we get to the gist of the story where we have maybe Wonder Woman's number one fan meeting Wonder Woman, and she has to spend the day with him. Well, she doesn't have to. She chooses to spend the day with him and grant his wish. So it's a very emotional story, but also there's still a lot of consequences. On the flip side, we have the Sovereign just continue to manipulate the government. Um, the Sovereign is a very interesting villain because they're not attacking Wonder Woman head on. They're kind of turning the whole world against her, um, which is the way you would attack a god, right? So very interesting stuff. Yeah, I really, really like that. Tom King's doing a bang up job with this book, and he has such a formidable team helping him out tell these amazing stories. So if you have read this book, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.